On this episode, for every automotive build comes the point of divide and conquer. That's exactly where we stand in this Project El Camino build. So I break it down for you as I give you a walkthrough of the hot rod shop and show you what it takes to make massive gains. Let's go. All right, guys, so we're going to take a little break here, and I'm going to run you through the shop just to show you exactly what we have going on, because in the midst of building the El Camino, everybody is divided, and our whole goal here is divide and conquer. We got Nigel on exhaust, Brandon's working on polishing, Mr. Lee's in the back, Ethan's across the street. We're spread out like wildfire, but let's walk through it, and I'm just going to show you just a little breakdown of what we have going on and kind of what the goal here is when we get this close to a build, and how at times we all separate and handle things and knock things out. So check this out. The El Camino is up on the rack, and it's been on the rack for the past 2 weeks because we're doing all the underside fabrication. Now, you remember we got the chassis back from the Roadster shop, and it already came powder coated. So when we mounted the body to the chassis, we aligned it, and we got the engine and the trans installed. You can watch that on the previous 2 videos. But what we weren't able to do is we weren't able to build the exhaust. So Nigel has had to build this stainless exhaust around the powder coated chassis and also around the undercoated body. It takes a skillful craftsman to be able to do fabrication around these painted surfaces. Is it ideal? No. But is it what we have to do? Yeah, we just got to get it done. So you just take extra precaution. And to me, that's what really makes a true professional, is when you can kind of alter your norm and get the job done. So check it out. We've got the Hedman headers, which are actually a cast iron exhaust manifold. They come down to a nice 45. This is a 2.5-inch pipe on both sides. They come into a V-band clamp, and then they turn inward towards each other. They run out towards the rear into what used to be the Smuggler's Cove, which is the back half of the El Camino bed, the underside of the bed. And we've got the 2 MagnaFlow mufflers sitting up here, again with the V-band clamps right before and with V-band clamps right after. We had the drive shaft installed just to make sure we have the proper clearance. The 2.5-inch bends go up and over the exhaust, and then if we walk kind of out this way, you can see they run on the inside edge of both frame rails. And Nigel's got a cool little bend here. It's just a straight dump, but he got a nice angle on it, so it looks kind of aggressive. You'll never see this unless you peek your head on the underside of the car, and that's exactly what the customer wanted. They didn't want to see the pipes, and I agree with it, so we did it this way. There's a huge opening right here in the middle because this is where our fuel cell sits. We built the aluminum fuel cell. Mr. Lee fabricated that. That sits up top, so we're finishing the fuel cell installation as well. It's going to be coated. Nigel's finishing the exhaust. We also built a forward mount for the fuel cell out of 2-inch by 2-inch square tube. So Nigel fabbed that up, and he's got the big heavy-duty bolts to hold that all together. So the underside of the car is coming out really nicely. Very, very happy with what we're seeing and in the time frame that we have allotted to do this fabrication. Once we're done with the exhaust, like I said, it'll get coated, and the fuel tank will get coated. And by the end of this week, we'll be able to bolt everything back up. We'll lower the car off the rack, and finally this car is going to go to the other shop, which is our assembly race shop, and we will be done on this side, which is where we do all the metal fab and paint and body. So while all this is taking place, here's the fuel cell. I'll show you real quick. It's about 22 gallons of fuel in this thing, and we still have to mount our fuel pump, which is an in-tank pump. And we have to mount our fuel sender, so our gauge on the dash reads full empty. So that's our tank. We'll have that coated. Okay, I wanted to touch on this subject as well. You know, when you're under pressure and you're building a car and you have a deadline, you're constantly working on different aspects. So while Nigel is fabricating on the underside of the car, Brandon and I have been sanding the quarter panels, and you can see he has his quarter panel finished. He's block sanded this with 800 all the way to 3000 and then polished it while it was on the rack. If we come around to the other side, this side's done and beautiful. This side here, it's been sanded with 3000, but we haven't polished it yet. And you can see, you know, Nigel's set up. He's got his station over here. He's got the welder and all the equipment and everything. So we're not going to polish this side, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up in the bed and I'm going to start polishing the roof. And so, you know, there's at times we're just working on top of each other with one common goal to get the car finished. And if there's a window of opportunity, we're going to take it because time is ticking. And it's just kind of funny how it all works. A lot of times you don't see this on the reality TV shows. They're not going to show you that they're just working on top of each other and everyone's doing different jobs and things are going crazy, you know. We're a small team. Luckily, if we're working on top of each other, it's not horrendous. We're not grinding sparks on freshly painted parts, but there is a process here of how we do this, and it is methodical, but it's also difficult. So that's what's happening. So while we're polishing, Mr. Lee's over here. We'll take you guys over and show you what we got over there. Now this is something you don't really see every day in most hot rod and custom shops, but all of the stainless and aluminum on the exterior of the car, we've sent out, we've had it straightened, and we had it dipped in copper. Now the copper acts as a primer coat, and it allows us to block sand with little tiny blocks like this from Big Kid Blocks, and we sit here and we block sand this surface to make sure it's perfectly flat. I'll give you a little example of it. We're using 150 grit, and when we start blocking on this panel right here with all this copper, it's going to reveal the highs and the lows, just like our body work. And it's really the exact same principle as painting a car. It's just different mediums. So you got your copper, which is the primer, and when we're finished with block sanding, it'll get dipped in copper again, and then nickel, and then chrome for your classic triple plating. But you can see all of the pieces here. So this is the front hood. We've got the headlight and taillight bezels. And the one that has taken the most amount of time is the grill. So each surface of the grill has to be block sanded to make sure that it's flat. When this thing goes to its full shine in chrome, we don't want it to look wavy. When it looks wavy, there's just cheap. Kind of looks cheap. So we spend the time to do this in-house rather than relying on the chrome shop. Now you can see right here, this is a good example. We've got two different colors of alloy here. We've got the aluminum, which is the silver, and that's the underlying material, which is what the grill is stamped out of. And then we have the copper, which is a plated copper. So it just goes to show you that the aluminum currently is a high spot and the copper is blending into it. I'm telling you, it's the exact same scenario as doing body work with body filler and primer. So again, this will go back to the copper plater. It'll get dipped and we'll get more copper, thicker build on this grill, and we'll continue to block sand it. It's going to go through one more round. So when you see this grill and it's coming at you, it's just going to look perfect. This is a very time-consuming process. I think just to block sand this grill, I think Mr. Lee spent about 10 hours on it in total. So we got all these components here, and then up on top of the roof, we've got all these ones as well. You can see kind of what it looks like after it's block sanded. It's got all the sand scratches in it. It's a really cool look, just kind of like this, just like a penny. And it's a few years ago, it was a trend for guys just to leave it in copper, which is cool. So every little component here, and then we got to move on to the front hood grills or the hood vents. Those will get block sanded, and every inner here is going to get filed. So we probably realistically have another 3 or 4 days of block sanding copper before it can get replated. Simultaneously, while this is going on, Brandon is in the booth. He's been a color sanding monster. So he has worked every panel on this car from 800 grit all the way to 3000 grit. And then from 3000, he starts the polishing process. So you can see all of the components here that he's polishing, and he's got his little table set up with all of the blocks and all the sandpapers corresponding. Like I said, from 800, 1000, 15, 2000, and then from 2000 we're able to skip over to 3000 on the DA. From there he can polish it. So the whole goal here is to get all of the orange peel or the texture out of the panel from the spraying process. Now next week after this video, we're going to drop a video all about color sanding and polishing, so you guys at home can learn the process of what it takes from a freshly painted car all the way down to a finished show car paint job. And we're going to give you that whole breakdown, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, because we've got continued videos dropping, which are really tutorial style videos. So that's what's happening here. Let's run across the street. I'll show you what else we have going on at the assembly shop in order to prepare for this car to head to assembly. Let's go. Okay, so as you can see, our assembly race shop is completely full, right? Next week, we have to bring the car over here, the El Camino. So in order to do that, we're juggling projects. This little 58 Chevy for a local customer is almost ready to go. We did a transmission conversion. The little 54 Chevy pickup is almost ready to go. So both of these cars have to get out. So the El Camino can come right here, and this is where the complete assembly of the El Camino is going to happen. This is our clean room, our clean side. It's brighter over here. We got a coated floor, and this is really kind of where the car is going to be together. So that's what we're up against this week. It's not always easy focusing on one major car and then having all these little lingering projects. So Ethan's on this side. He's getting these 2 projects knocked out. They're going to head home. Then it's all hands on deck. Basically, we're going to meet over here to assemble the El Camino. All 5 guys, basically. Boom. Where it's going to happen. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. So many times in the car building process, even though we're a full team here at this hot rod shop, many days are spent working individually and staying self-motivated. This, in essence, is what makes a true professional in this trade. So I hope you guys enjoy just a quick glimpse into a hot rod shop. Next week, we continue the build process, mounting the body to the chassis, working on the exhaust, and we also build that fuel tank that you saw in this video. We're just going to give you a breakdown of that fuel cell to hopefully inspire you to build one at home and kind of show you how we do it with the inner baffling and the inner works of that tank. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next week. See ya. What's up, everybody? Brian from Mackey's Hot Rod Shop with our YouTube channel, Mackey and Machine. We wanted to say thank you guys for subscribing. The numbers are growing way faster than we ever expected. So a quick overview, we're giving away a box of merchandise for every new 1,000 subscribers. We bundle everybody together, we pick one number, and we send out all this merchandise straight to your door. It's just a way to say thank you, so we really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, do so now, because we're continuing our content in a hot rod shop, bicycles, motorcycles, planes, trains, boats, all of it here on Mackey and Machine. We've got a ton of new content for you guys. The best part of all, real quick, is a 1940 Ford giveaway as soon as we hit 50,000 subscribers. What do you have to do? Hit the subscribe button. That's it. We keep track of everything else. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next one.